Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now, today we are going to have a look at the 60 TP versus the Type 71. Which tank is better, which tank I prefer, and what tank you prefer. So they are, in a way, they are similar tanks, but they can play completely different as well. So the DPM on both tanks is exactly the same. However, the penetration on the 60 TP is slightly more, and of course the alpha is massively more at 600 compared to 400 on that Type 71. The rate of fire, of course, with the alpha, of course, it's going to be more on the Type 71, and the same with the reload time. So the reload time is almost 10 seconds on the Type 71 and almost 15 seconds on the 60 TP. Of course, the 60 TP is a 152 and the Type 71 is a 120. So usually these big guns versus the 120, they are completely different. They're completely different tanks. However, these two tanks, I would say, is still quite similar. The shell velocity there for the Type 71 is much better than that on the 60 TP. The aim time, to be honest, not too much in it. 2.63 versus 2.45, and the dispersion 0.38 versus 0.344, so not too much in it. And the gun depression, again, not too much in it. 7 degrees for the 60 TP and 6 degrees for the Type 71, but of course you can get that up to 9 degrees if you want. Speed, again, not too much in it. 36 versus 40, and you can see all the terrain resistant there, much better for the Type 71. The armor profile, however, it has 280 millimeters on the 60 TP compared to 203 of that on the Type 71. However, the Type 71 has a much better hull at 178 millimeters versus 120. Don't forget, this is just standard. Effective armor, it is much more than that. So stat wise, you can't really compare two tanks like this, because they are completely different stat wise. One has a massive alpha gun and one has more rate of fire but less alpha. But in game you can play these, and they do play very similar. However, one has more mobility, and that is where these tanks are completely different from me. Both tanks have great turrets and they can be used on a ridge. Both of these tanks on a ridge is both like absolutely amazing. But as we know, with the Type 71, you can either run it with the extra gun depression, or you can run it with the extra sort of traverse and stuff like that, which is, we've already talked about it before. That's how I prefer to play this tank, and that is pretty much how you can get the best out of the Type 71. But not everyone's going to be the same. Not everyone's going to be that, and a lot of people will probably like it with the with the extra gun depression. So if they do like it, or if you do like it with the extra gun depression, then both of these tanks do play very alike. But which is better? Which tank is better to play? So the 60 TP with the 600 alpha gun, if you can get yourself on that ridgeline, nothing, almost nothing, will penetrate your turret. And it's got the high alpha gun, as we know. It's got the tungsten shells, as we know, and you always have to try and use that tungsten shells when you know that you can get 2 shells out, or at least definitely 1 shell. You don't want to use it when you haven't got a clear shot and you're just going to waste it, because then you've got to wait over, what, 70 seconds or something like that for it to regenerate and use again. So I'm going to mess up the shot here on the Type 71. You can just see there how good the armor profile actually is, even when it's on flat ground. Of course, that is the same with the 60 TP. It's I think the 60 TP has got more weak points than the Type 71. So it all depends on what you prefer. That is the only, really, for me, the only difference between these two tanks is, one, the alpha. Do you like the high alpha gun, or do you like the lower alpha gun but better reload, better rate of fire? And of course, with the Type 71, if you want to use it with that extra traverse, it does make a fantastic tank, and it does turn kind of like a super heavy tank into a heavium. And that's what I love about the Type 71. You can either play it exactly the same as a 60 TP, or you can play it pretty much exactly the same as an STB. Kind of, and that's what makes that tank absolutely fantastic. I mean, the play style between an STB and a 60 TP is completely different. So to be able to do both of those with one tank, that is what, in my opinion, the Type 71 is more enjoyable than the 60 TP, and just a much better tank overall. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think the 60 TP is better, or do you think the new Type 71 is better? At the moment, the 60 TP is played, it's one of the most played tier 10 tanks. Of course, we know about the Amarak. We know that the Amarak is really, really weak. Me personally, I don't think I've been Amarak yet in the 60 TP, and I haven't seen an Amarak in the Type 71. So we know that the Amarak is a lot weaker. We know it's a lot slower, and we know it has a massive high alpha gun. And of course, with the tungsten shells as well, you've got the 600 base, or the standard damage, but of course you do have that tungsten shells to pick that damage or lift that damage up even more so. Both tanks are very enjoyable to play. I love the 60 TP. It is a super strong tank. It is a super heavy that can perform really, really well, especially when you are on that ridgeline. When you go up to a ridgeline, something like say dead rail, and you come up to the middle hoping to spot the team, hoping to be in a great position, and then you see a 60 TP on the other side that is hold down, it's not a tank you want to come up against, because not only that, but with the 60 TP having that higher alpha gun, he can just spam HE, and if he can't penetrate your turret, he can just spam HE and still do 200 to 300 damage per shot. That is something that the Type 71 cannot do. You're not going to do that much damage. But overall, I would recommend playing the Type 71 as a heavium, as that medium stroke heavy tank, because that was where this tank really does shine, and it is amazing. The tank really is amazing. So me personally, I prefer the Type 71, but both tanks are very, very good. So let me know in the comments what you think is better and what you prefer playing, the Type 71 or the 60 TP. But for now, we are going to watch a fantastic game in this Type 71. So you can see he's still getting bounces. He's got tanks all around him. He's got this this YOLO AMX 50B here. He's got the 60 TP to the right, and there is loads of other tanks around. So they need to get rid of that guy, and he needs to be careful of this 60 TP. So of course, the 60 TP does have more hit points as well, so you got to bear that in mind. But yeah, even though I prefer the Type 71, I still think the 60 TP is fantastic. It has that, again, it's got the high alpha gun, it's got the turret. I mean, yeah, the lower plate is very, very weak, but just look how red that tank is. And if you're wiggling that tank, it is really, really hard to be able to penetrate that tank. So yeah, it's both tanks. I mean, look at the turret on that thing. If you're hold down, just look at how strong that turret is. But of course, as soon as you start turning, that then becomes very, very weak and easily penable. So if you are using the 60 TP, make sure that you haven't turned your turret, you're facing where you want to be, and there are still a lot of weak points on that tank, so do bear that in mind. The 60 TP is best at facing the enemy being hold down, whereas this tank is the same, but using the gun depression, the 9 degrees of gun depression, of course it is that, but you can also, I think you'll get better, you'll get more out of this tank if you go with your mediums. Yes, it doesn't have the speed or anything like that, but if you go with your mediums, they will really struggle to be able to penetrate you at all, even on your hull. But of course, you can also go with the heavy tanks, and you can do equally as good. If you're on that ridgeline, again, go hold down, and if they do sort of YOLO over that ridgeline, you've got the traverse to sort of wiggle and get around, and you can still get those bounces. Our guy here has already bounced 1200 damage. He's on 3.5k damage, and now we're just going to watch the rest of this game because it is fantastic. He's got himself in a great position, and he's now playing this tank like you would a 60 TP in this kind of position. He's not playing it like a heavium, he's playing it like a 60 TP in a way. You guys might not agree. You might you guys might think like you can't really compare a 60 TP to a Type 71, but for me, I do think they can play very, very similar, and they're equally as good at playing it in a hold down position and just farming the enemy using the gun depression that it's got. But yeah, the Type 71 has more than that, which is why I prefer the Type 71 than I would the 60 TP. So 5.3k damage. It is now a 2 versus 3. However, they are losing on supremacy points, so they do need to get some kills, and they do need to do it quite quickly because these points will go up very, very quickly. So the Progetto here, he's got that shot, and this is what I'm saying. When a tank is in front of you like this, I mean, fair enough, that second shot just went elsewhere, and he can still get a 500 high roll into that Progetto there. He is now a one shot. Of course, he can take a shot there from the Progetto, but he does also get that bounce. So he's bounced 2,300 damage. He's on 6.4k damage with just 2 tanks left alive. He wanted to go for the HE there, which is probably what most should have done. He should have been able to clear that E4 over there, but unfortunately just he didn't want to risk shooting that HE, so he only shot the standard AP. But it does mean that the E4 is still alive, and they are going to take care of the E100. So he's now a one shot, but he has got the E4 now down to a one shot, and if he can get this shot into the Jaeger, he can bring that guy also down to a one shot. So both of these tanks are now a one shot, but the problem is they both got big guns. So yes, they are shooting. The Jaeger only does 99 damage there, which is very, very low for the alpha that guy's got. That is a very low alpha, and he's lucky to get away with that. He's very, very lucky to get away with that. But fair play to the Jaeger, he did do the right thing. He wasn't going to pen, so why not shoot HE? But this time he doesn't shoot HE, and he doesn't get away with it. So absolutely amazing game there from our guy from EG in the Type 71. So yeah, that's my opinion. I prefer the Type 71 over the 60 TP. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Which tank do you prefer? Which tank is better and just more fun to play? Hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all soon. Bye bye.